back to my studio. This is Emma on a fine, what we'd call drizzly day here, I think, in the UK. I don't know if you have drizzle where you live in the world. It's a sort of a light rain. It's not pouring down or anything. It's just this grey softness that I do love. We've had a lot of dry over the summer and it's just lovely to have rain. We've been having it on and off over the last week or so. And it makes everything lush and green again. So it's very pleasant, I personally think. I love a bit of rain, but it does mean the light goes grey, which for making, for me in here, makes it a little bit challenging, and for filming and stuff. So I've actually got some lights on in here, so if you see the lights glinting on my glasses, that'll be why. Apologies for that, but I can't really help it. So anyway, welcome back. And let's see where we're going to get to today. Thank you very much for joining me here. Thank you for your subscribing. Thank you for your comments that you leave. It's so lovely to connect with you all around the world. It's absolutely fantastic. So if it's your first time commenting, just leave me a note as to where you are in the world, because then I can kind of picture you, you know, in some different climate to here. So what am I going to talk about today? A good question. I don't know. I've had a very quiet week. Haven't done a huge amount. Just sort of bits and bobs here and there. I think just keeping those little plates spinning has been enough this week. A lot of stuff going on in the house, bits and bobs, and just, you know, just keeping the dishes washed and the clothes washed and somewhere clean and tidy to sit and sleep and all the rest of it. Nothing drastic, but I have been down here and enjoyed myself. So what else have I done? Oh, I know what else happened last week. You see, I forgot this already. On Saturday, we had our Meet the Makers at the cafe that we've got. It's got this little gallery upstairs, and we've got some work in it as a group, my group called Fabricate. But we had such a lovely day. It wasn't very, very busy. It was a gorgeous sunny day, so possibly a lot of people were just out walking and stuff and doing their own thing. The cafe was fairly busy, and a few people came up, and you know, you don't need hundreds of people. You just need the right people to come who want to talk to you about work, and you need one person who just goes away saying, well, I'm really inspired, I'm going to go and have a go at something. And we also got to sat and talk to each other, which we don't often do, because we're often just in our own little separate homes doing our stuff, and that was just so nice. So it was a very pleasant time. It was just a few hours. So today I'm going to just flash this at you. This is my little sketchbook. I take this on holiday with me when I go to the Scottish Islands, and I just, every year I add a little bit more into it, and I do a little bit of sketching. And those of you who've watched my videos for a while know that I do sketchbook things where I kind of, if I just show you this one, this is a blank one. I take blank white pages and I print them up with different colours, different patterns, whatever comes to mind. So this would have been how this sketchbook looked originally, but now look at it, it's full of fatness. I love a good fat sketchbook, and it's got, get it the right way up, you know, it's actually got sketches in. And the nice thing is when you pre-prepare your pages like that, drawing and sketching and making marks or whatever you want to do, sticking things in, sticking your bus tickets in if you want to, it makes it so much more interesting to do, because you've got a page that isn't white. So I may well do another sketchbook thing coming up, another video or two on that subject, because I've just got the feeling that might be a thing coming up. But today we are looking at where this green and grey project is going to go, and I'm just super excited because there's a little something that I'm going to show you. So let's get on with it. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So you can see it's kind of blended quite nicely. Just move that out of the way so you can see it. I've added bits, different layers. You know, you can add a layer and then another layer and then another layer, and you can always take off what you don't like, as I always say. So I'm just looking at what sort of shades of grey. I've got I haven't got 50 shades, but I've got a few, and I'm just picking out the ones that I think might be useful. That's quite a purplish colour, so I'll pop these into my little basket here. I do love doing this. It's all these little sort of rituals I find about my sewing and my making. So I've also got a big basket of purpley ones, and I think we're just going to go for, I don't think that's probably too bluish, too dark, I think that one. So I think those two will probably go in there quite nicely. There we go. Isn't that pretty? I just love my little ritual. So I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and we'll do some free machine embroidery just to hold it all in place and add a bit of colour mixing to it. So here we go, all set up for free machine embroidery on my sewing machine. If you haven't done free machine embroidery before, I do have a little introduction to it on my playlist. If you have a little look, beginners, you can have a go, and basically all you do is you need an embroidery or a darning foot. You lower the feed dog teeth, which are the bits underneath, the little jaggy teeth. I put your stitch length onto 0. Make sure you've got some fabric. I usually teach people to start off in a hoop, an embroidery hoop, because you've got something to hold on to, and just put your machine down, your lever down like you would normally do, and just have a go. Just get off, just get going. Basically, I've chosen a mid-grey thread here that's just going to tone everything together. And oh, I forgot to say, here we go, this is me. I'm so excited about doing the stitching. I forgot to say I have put a piece of, can you see the stitch and tear, or the tear away stabilizer underneath, just to make sure that this stays roughly the same size and doesn't get shrunken, pulled in, because I'm going to do a lot of stitching that's going in one direction, and if you do that it does tend to alter the fabric and pull things in a bit. I'll do a bit of random as well. But this is lovely. You just move the fabric around, the machine stops whenever you need to stop. And because it's free machining, you can go in any direction you want to. Yeah, that'll pin out now, I think. Okay, so I've actually switched threads now to one of these lilac-y colours. It's a slightly paler one than that. And I'm just doing little bits of lilac, so across the lilac-y bits here. I don't know if you can see that properly. And then adding lilac into the grey, so we get this kind of mixture. I feel as though it's kind of like the surface of a rock or something, or it's like, I don't know, something mountainous in the background. So that's what I'm doing now, a bit more free machine embroidery. I've done some machine embroidery that's going up and down like this, like that, just to add a little bit of texture in. And it's nice to take this lilac-y colour out into the grey, so it mixes it all up a little bit. Very subtle. It's very subtle. For me, this is very subtle on recent performances. And that's got itself tucked underneath. Because I've embellished it, it's kind of made it tuck itself underneath. So I need to watch out, because I don't want that to be, I don't want a tucked in edge on this one. So I kind of don't want to overdo it. I don't want lilac absolutely everywhere, but I did want it in quite a few places, so it gives this sort of coherent feel to it. So it's, I don't know, like a vein of something in the rock, or it's a piece of, I don't know, a little bit of lichen or something on the rock. There we go. So you can see it's quite textured still. And these are the lilac bits, and I've got lilac here and lilac here, just running along. And so the next ones to stitch are these little bits here, these nice textured bits here. Because I've embellished the whole thing, you do get this overall textured feeling, which is really, really nice. Although it's quite flat compared to the green section, it is got a nice texture to it because of the embellishing. And these little bits of lacy bits, what I'm doing is I'm just scrolling in and out to try and keep the sticky up bits, if you like, the bits in relief. I'm trying to emphasise that a little bit more with my stitching. All very subtle, but I think it's really lovely to do, and I'm very much enjoying it. These bits here, I've actually put a really dark grey thread on, and I don't know if you can see, there's a bit of texture going on there as well by adding a bit of dark in just here and there. Just going to move that over a little bit, and if you can see that, it's just making sort of veining. And I think the trick with it is, again, not to do, you don't do too much of it, you just do some. So this is where I've got to now with the stitching of the top bit. You can see all the scribbles on the back, so it's all very rough and loose. Not rocket science at all, anybody can do that, just lots of wiggly waggly wriggling. So I'm just kind of tucking these in, and I've tucked in the sides there so I can see what I've got going on. But as I say in my intro, I've got a bit of a surprise in my sketchbook, which I'm going to show you just very briefly. I'm not going to show you all of it because there's loads in here and this could be a whole video on its own. This is my little sketchbook that I've taken with me to the Scottish Islands for a few years now. So it's full of little sketches of the islands, and it's got lots of little samples in, and as I say, I'm not going to show you them all, but I am going to show you 2 little things that I drew this year. Okay, so I went and sat, my husband and daughter went off for a walk, and I actually just decided I was going to sit and do some sketching. So I sat in the car park, and there was those beautiful views all around me, like 360 degrees, so there was different things going on in different directions. So the first one I could see was across the water. This was where the tide had gone out on the loch, and there was these beautiful dark blue sort of mountains here, and there was the big rocks in front that surrounded where the car was sitting. So I just literally sat in the car and did some drawing. It was a beautiful sunny day, so there was that going on. There was another view that I can't quite recall exactly what it was like, but it was one I didn't draw. But the other one I drew was this. And I was really, really struck. As I say, it was a bright sunny day, and I was really struck by the colours. We got these layers. It was like there was a layer of yellow and green, and then some green, and then a lot of yellow, and there was this beautiful yellow field over here. And then look at these colours, though, in these rocks up here. And I didn't realise this till I got this home and looked at what I'd actually created over the last few weeks and thought, crikey Moses, just look at those colours I've got in there. Isn't that incredible? So this was like something I was doing at home, out of my head as it were, just out of whatever inspiration was coming from the scraps that I was using, and it just totally blew me away when I looked at that and I thought, crikey, that is the colours. It was this vibrant green, vibrant yellow, and then these beautiful soft mauvey sort of colours going on up in the hill area. So this is kind of it's kind of become my inspiration. I had no idea where this was going, but I feel very strongly that this is kind of the direction it wants to move in. Usually, as you know, I just kind of play around with things and let the fabrics and the making take me on the journey, but I feel as though this is really the bit where I need to get to now. This has kind of just pulled it all together for me. So if I make myself a little tiny, because I don't really want the whole width of that, I feel as though it's really focusing in on this bit here. So I made myself a little tiny little framing up device here. And you can see straight away that that could be a very simple version of what I've kind of started off down here with this lot. And I'm just quite inspired by that. So really, who knew that going on holiday would bring me the inspiration that I needed to work up this piece that I'd started at home. I'm quite blown away by it. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be working with. So I think we'll just take this page out. I'll put the sketchbook out of the way for now. So it's a question of how to interpret this. I don't want to get too literal. I don't want to start going, oh, it's got to look like this and it's got to have, because for example, there's a couple of houses there, little roofs and some stones, and I'm thinking, no, it's about the sectioning of it, it's about the colour scheme of it, and just keeping it really simple going forward from this point, but using this as the inspiration. So I'm going to put that over there for a moment, and what I've done is I've found myself some more green and yellow fabrics, which I've got here, because I was thinking, well, it's kind of, I'll leave that there so perhaps you can see that as well alongside what I'm doing. So this is kind of the upper bit at the moment. So we've got the green in the base, and somehow we're going to introduce some yellow to here. honestly, when I sat and drew this picture, it was very much, it was bands of colour, bands of yellow. The yellow was so striking in this this area here. So I've picked out some yellow, and I was thinking, well, this is not how it's going to be, okay, but I'm just playing around with possible colours, because I was getting some greens out, thinking, well, do you make, and I think, well, no, that's way too strong for there. Do I put something like that sort of colouring right up at the top, and put a sort of a paler but darker than this colour? I don't know how this is going to work out, guys. I mean, this is just me messing around with the colours here, going, well, this is kind of the banding that I want to have going on somehow. I don't know how, but introducing these colours and then letting that, you know, maybe it's going to be more like that with a bit of yellow in the middle, or it's going to be yellow down here. I don't know. Definitely, I think we need something yellow and big in the foreground down at the bottom here. And I appreciate, I'm trying to show you the whole thing here. It's getting longer and longer and longer. As I said, I thought it was just going to be a couple of little squat pieces like this, but this is becoming something very long and thin with lots of layers going on. So I'll try and show you all. That, I think, is way too dark. And I feel as though possibly bringing that green up to here somehow, whether I cut this piece that I've made here into the mountain shape, where we make that a bit more shaped against a background. And I was thinking, well, I think the next thing really is to get a bit of sky in there, and the only really suitable colour I've got, I think, is this lovely linen that I have, which is quite pale. It's quite innocuous. It could be just a background blue, just quite pale and simple. It was just basically blue sky with whitish clouds that day, I think. And I was thinking, well, do I then kind of, you know, should we start putting some mountains in like that? As I say, I think this one's a bit too dark, really. But you can sort of get the feeling. I'm concerned that the focus needs to be sort of starting here, and then your eye just sort of drifting up and taking in these bands of colour. So possibly we'll make that, as I say, we'll shape that somehow. I don't want to get too complicated. It's got to stay simple. And I've just got no exact idea how it's going to sort of move from this point forwards. But as I say, I'm just inspired that that's what's come through. It's just quite incredible. Something inside me knew I was going on holiday and knew I was going to sit and do this drawing. And if that's a bit far-fetched for you, well, that's okay. But I have to say, my life is working more and more in this way, that I listen to my intuition and I allow things to come to me, and this is feeling really cool. I'm quite excited about it. It's almost like separating that from that is a really good move. I don't think we want any more detail in there. As I say, I don't think I want to bring any of the, like this sort of detail up here in the mid-ground up here into it, or in the background, I should say, maybe. But they're definitely going to have something big and yellowy down in the foreground, which I shall try and work on. So this is where we're at. Isn't that quite exciting? I'm absolutely thrilled by it. It's really livened it up for me. It's brought it back to life. I went on holiday, as I say, to North Uist, and I think when I was there, it kind of, something shifted inside me quite big time, and I've come back. I find this in September, I don't know about you, but it's almost like the summer comes to this end, and September brings you something new and something fresh. You know, the new season is coming, whether it's possibly, it might be spring where you are, of course, so that might be your new season, but I do feel there's winds of change come in at this time of year, before the winter even comes. It's just this shift in the seasons. So I'm super excited by this, so I'm going to have to stop at this point, because I really genuinely don't know how to make this go forward in time, but I feel as though we've done enough for today. This has whetted, hopefully, your appetite to see where and how this is going to work out. And we will just progress it next week when I've had a little play with it and seen how we can add these yellows in and these greens in, and kind of make it a coherent whole, so it doesn't feel bitty. And just, wow, who knew that that's what was going to happen, hey? So thank you so much again for watching. I hope this, I feel like last week's video was a very gentle video. This has got a bit more va-va-voom going on with it. I feel like I had to just do it very gently last week, coming back after my holiday. This has got a lot more excitement now going on because I genuinely don't know what's going to happen exactly. So thanks again for being here. Thank you for being my audience. Thank you for being my witness to this. Thank you for sharing this process with me. Please do leave me a comment about what you think about it so far. Let me know where you are in the world if that's your thing, if you haven't been commenting before. I just love to hear what you have to say and what you think, how we're going to do this front bit, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next week, and we'll see where this goes. Thanks so much. Bye for now. Ba ba da ba da ba da ba ba.